Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you all so much for being with me here today. I appreciate each and every one of you so very much. Today I just want to give you a quick little video on my final thoughts on the transparent audio super speaker cable that I have on loan from Utah Audio. Just want to give a quick little shout out to Utah Audio for being so helpful with my recent upgrade process. Tyler up at Utah Audio has been absolutely fantastic. Of course, helping me and assisting me in acquiring the Wilson Audio, the Watt Puppie speakers that you see behind me. And I'm kind of in the process right now of looking at additional upgrades to replace the Classe CA 150 power amplifier and CP 50 preamplifier, which are, from the early 90s. They're getting quite old. So I'm super excited to look at that next chapter of my upgrade path. And the folks at Utah Audio have been absolutely wonderful in assisting me with this so far. I've got some brands of audio equipment that I've been looking at. I think I shared them in the last video with you, looking at Macintosh equipment. Really like the looks of Macintosh equipment, not to mention their sound. I think they sound really nice. Also looking at Moon Audio, the North Collection. Really like the way they sound too. Very different than Macintosh. One's analytical, being the Moon, and the Macintosh a little bit more forgiving, a little bit more laid back, if you will. And I'm just trying to decide what type of presentation that I really want. And I think before I actually do that, I'm going to have to maybe get at least some amplifiers down here from Moon and Macintosh and kind of give a quick little listen in my sound system before I, move any further. Also planning on going to Axpona in April in Chicago. Want to listen to some items that I don't necessarily have available here. Another local dealer here in the state has Audio Research and Aesthetics, both fantastic electronics. They're pricey as well. Audio Research, I love Audio Research. I've always been in love with Audio Research electronics, tube electronics. They are just fantastic, but they're in the high range of cost too. And so really kind of determine where my budget lies and where I need to be as far as getting into something. But yet on the other hand, I want to make sure I get something that is really going to please me and something that's going to sound the way I want things to sound. I know just from listening to these the transparent audio super speaker cables, I do know that everything makes a difference. I've been really shocked by the things that I've been hearing just with a speaker cable swap out. And so anyway, so I've got a lot to do and I've got a lot to investigate. Thank you all so much in particular for the last video that we did, or the video that we did on when I purchased and swapped out the speaker cables with the transparent audio super speaker cables. You all put a lot of great comments in my comment section. I appreciate that so much. You made some great suggestions. I'm going to try and seek out some of those. I know Symphonic Line was one that was talked about, and a myriad of others. I just want to say thank you so much for doing that. You don't know how important that is to me to hear back your feedback. You have experience with a lot of these electronics that maybe I don't. And so thank you for your recommendations. But really, I just want to share with you today my final thoughts on the transparent audio speaker cables. This is the box that they come in that I loaned. And of course, here's the information on the end of the box. Hope you can see that without any glare. When I did the video to change out from my old Kimber Cable 8TC speaker cables to the transparent audio super speaker cables, I was listening to Sheffield Steel by Joe Cocker and then Loggins and Messina sitting in, and I just did a brief little, it maybe took me an hour and a half maybe to listen to those two albums with the new speaker cables, and I could really initially hear some differences in particular in the bottom end. Well, since I've had the opportunity the past several days to listen to these speaker cables and go back and forth from the Kimber Cable ATCs to to the transparent audio super speaker cables, I've really been able to see and hear. You can see them because they're quite a bit larger, obviously. But boy, I tell you what, you can hear them. And first thing I want to do and just say this is not a comparison. It's not an apples to apples comparison to compare a 1990 speaker cable to a relatively new speaker cable that cost quite a bit more than what I bought the Kimber cables for back in the early 90s. If I was doing an apples to apples comparison, I would probably snag a pair of Kimber cable Cobalt speaker cables to be, you know, a more compatible, a more realistic and more honest and true apples to apples comparison. But that wasn't my necessarily my charge in borrowing these speaker cables. What I'm interested in is, has speaker cable and other interconnects, have they really made a huge difference in the past several years? Now, I'm one of those individuals that believes that interconnects, speaker cables, even power conditioning and power cables can and do make a difference in the sound quality of the audio that we hear. Now, I do realize that as we upgrade and get into better speakers, better electronics, better playback equipment, whether it's digital or analog, I realize as we get up into that, the more apparent and the more obvious some of those interconnects and speaker cables and power conditioning and power cables can make a difference and can be easily heard. Well, just in doing what I did, and like I say, this is not a comparison, it was just an investigation on my part to see how far technology has come and what really differences a good set of speaker cables in today's world would make on my Wilson Audio Watt Puppies. And I'm here to tell you quickly, and the quick answer is yes, they made a huge difference. And I shouldn't say huge, but they made a very listenable and very obvious difference in the sound quality for the better. As I indicated in the first video, listening to Sheffield Steel by Joe Cocker, very dynamic album. Hey, you know what? That bottom end was very obvious. It was different with the transparent super speaker cables than what I had been listening to. And as the days have gone on, and I've got a myriad of albums that I'll quickly show you that I've been listening to that have really instilled upon me as I switch back and forth. And I'm going to show you one album that I really use to evaluate as I switch cables back and forth, and that's Jennifer Warren's famous Blue Raincourt. I believe this is on Impex. Yes, this is an Impex pressing. As many of you all know, this, and I know it's an audiophile standard in many ways and by many people, but this album is recorded so extraordinarily well with dynamics top to bottom, not to mention the fact that it's incredibly good music by Jennifer Warren's. What a fantastic difference I could hear, literally top to bottom. Imaging was greatly improved, very listenable and obvious improved as I listened to it through the transparent super speaker cables. You know, the bottom end obviously was the quickest and the first thing that you notice that is different, but boy, relatively so, the imaging actually sounded a little bit wider, a little bit more focused when it was necessary, and really top to bottom resolution was better with the transparent audio super speaker cables. And this album in particular is the one that I really used as I switched back and forth between the cables so that I could actually hear that. And no, I didn't have any help. No, I didn't do it blind tested. My eyes were fully open as I did all the work. I did all the you know, moving of the cables and reconnecting them and connecting them back up and so forth. So I knew what I was listening to. So some may call that, well, that's not necessarily a really valid, I don't know, comparison. But to me, it was very obvious what you were hearing. It was quite immediate. And not saying that the Kimbers are terrible and that I can't go back, because I'm going to be going back and listening to those cables until I make a decision on equipment, and then I'll include cabling with that. But in all honesty, it was a difference that was very obvious, and it was easy to make, and it was easy to hear. At least it was for me in my listening position between these two incredibly awesome speakers. Forthcoming review of the speakers as well. But I tell you what, I was really shocked in a sense that I could hear as much difference as I could. As I started listening to all of these albums, and some of them you will recognize, the Dave Brubeck Quartet. I know many of you are familiar with that. Chick Corea and Return to Forever, Light as a Feather. I love this album. If you're not familiar with it, you should. It's an incredible album. Herb Albert, Rise. This is on the Mobile Fidelity label. One of my all-time favorite albums. Absolutely love this. Great music. Earl Klugh, Finger Paintings. If you're not familiar with Earl Klugh finger paintings, Mobile Fidelity did a fantastic job when they redid this, I don't know, back in the 80s, I guess. This absolutely sounds fantastic. And then, of course, I'm a huge Bob James fan. Listening to Bob James and Earl Klugh, this is an absolutely wonderful. This is one-on-one. And then, of course, Blue Note Tone Poet, Bobby Hutcherson's Oblique. What a fantastic album that is. I also had some other albums, more rock and roll. Let me grab these really quick. I was listening to Jim Croce, Don't Mess Around with Jim. This is also on the Mobile Fidelity label. Great, great, great album. Sting, I love this album. This has the song on it, Fields of Gold. What a fantastic song. What a fantastic album. And then, of course, Tracy Chapman. Everybody loves Fast Car. This whole album is incredible. It's fantastic. This is an original release. I don't know if you can see the album there without any glare on it. It's a fantastic album. Of course, we talked about Joe Cocker, Sheffield Steel. One of the most dynamic albums that I have. It's incredible. I can't not listen to a listening session when I'm listening to equipment or whatever it might be, in this case speaker cables, without pulling out something from Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd, The Wall, what an incredible album that is. Heart, Dreamboat Annie, this is a Nautilus Super Disc, fantastic album. One of the first concerts that I saw in my younger days, actually going to see him here in a week or so. They're coming to Salt Lake. And then Heart, Dog and Butterfly, probably one of my favorite, if not my most favorite, Heart albums. It is just absolutely fantastic with incredibly awesome sound. Gillian Welch, Soul Journey. This is a fantastic recorded song or recorded album. Absolutely fantastic. Great music. And then, of course, Joni Mitchell, Ladies of the Canyon. What a fantastic album that is. Sorry, if I could get that more upside down, it would be better. And so, geez, I don't even know how I got that. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. Joni Mitchell, Big Yellow Taxi. What a great, great song. Some of the CDs that I've been listening. Van Morrison, Moondance. And this is a Mobile Fidelity SACD of Patricia Barber, Versailles. That's another incredibly well recorded, great sounding album. If you're a Patricia Barber fan, when I first heard that CD, SACD, I thought, well, this is kind of like sound effects, But as I listened to it more, this is a great album. Patricia Barber, Versailles. This one's on Mobile Fidelity SACD. Another SACD. This is Return to Forever by Chick Corea. This is jazz fusion to me at its absolute finest. What an incredibly sounding album this is. Blue Note, Art Blakely and the Jazz Messengers. The Big Beat, great sounding CD. This is CD. And then one of my favorite CDs ever is Holly Cole, Don't Smoke in Bed. Have you heard her rendition of, it's the very first song on the first, I Can See Clearly Now. Check that out. Check out I Can See Clearly Now on this album. And then this is on a Maple Shade title. I don't know if you guys have heard of Maple Shade. It's a CD. It was a company, I believe, back in Louisiana. That may not be correct, but I have a few Maple Shade label albums. And this one, Norris Tooney Quartet, saxophone, Norris Tooney sax is right there in the room with you. This is a fantastic sounding CD. And I'm a big 38 Special fan, so I grabbed out their greatest hits album. Rebecca Pigeon, the Raven, on the Chesky label. This is the SACD version. I have the Analog Productions album. I think I have the regular CD version of this, and I think I even have it on DSD. Yeah, this is a great, great, great album. Rebecca Pigeon, the Raven. And then, of course, James Taylor, Hourglass. This is just an, in fact, excuse me, that's not Hourglass. Yes, it is. It's Hourglass. Gaia on this CD is the entire CD is absolutely wonderful, and it's not a CD; it's an SACD. Excellent, excellent. And then, of course, this was Sitting In by Loggins and Messina. Absolutely a neat experience for the past few days that I've had listening to the Super 8 speaker cables by Transparent Audio. I realized that the Wilson Audio Watt Puppies, they're wired with transparent, so it makes a whole lot of sense to probably stick with that. And whether I do or whether I don't, that's yet to be seen. Is it important that I stick with transparent? Absolutely not. There's a ton of speaker cables out there, a ton of audio interconnects, a ton of brands. That they're all fantastic. I've got a myriad of them myself. I got Kimber cable speaker wires. I've got AudioQuest interconnects. I got Teralab phono interconnects, and they all sound really, really, really nice. But I do know that it's time to upgrade from the older cables that I do have, not to mention the electronics. I'll keep you abreast as this progress it continues on. Like I say, I don't think I'm going to be making any serious decisions until I get back from Expona in April. I want to see what else is out there that I certainly am not able to see right here within my state. Going to take a trip to Las Vegas and listen to PS Audio Electronics here in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And so I'm excited for that as well. Thank you so much for your comments. All of your suggestions are greatly appreciated. I appreciate all the things comments that you've done, especially on this last video, the video that we talked about, the transparent cable. Thank you so much for your suggestions, and I appreciate all the forthcoming comments that you will feel free to make, and suggestions, whatever they might be, as this progress of replacing my electronics and interconnect cables and speaker cables and power conditioning process continues. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.